Before the First World War, the Socialist Democratic Party, or the SPD, was the largest party in Germany and the world's most successful socialist party. Although still officially claiming to be a Marxist party, by 1914 it became in practice a reformist party. In 1914, the SPD members of the Reichstag voted in favor of the war. Left-wing members of the party like Karl Liebknecht, Rosa Luxemburg strongly opposed the war, and the SPD soon suffered a split, with the leftists forming the Independent Socialist Democratic Party of Germany, or the USPD, or the UPSD, and the most radical Spartacus League. So in November 1918, the revolution broke out across Germany, the glorious revolution. Kaiser Wilhelm is gone, the war is over, and the leftists run in the streets. The leftists, led by Rosa Luxemburg and the Spartacus League, formed the KPD at a founding congress held in Berlin on the 30th of December 1918. On the 1st of January 1919, in the reception hall of the city council, apart from the Spartacus, another dissenting group of socialists called the International Communists of Germany, also dissenting members of the Social Democratic Party, but mainly located in Hamburg, Bremen and northern Germany, or Schleswig-Holstein, joined the young party of the KPD on the 1st of January. The Revolutionary Shop Stewards, a network of dissenting social trade unionists centered in Berlin, were also invited to the Congress, but eventually did not join the party because they deemed the founding Congress leaning to the syndicalist direction, or everybody together instead of separate trade unions. But now, there were 7 main reports given to the founding Congress, and these were by the 7 OGs, which I will cover, of course. But Economical Struggles by Paul Langer, Grating Speech by Karl Redig, International Conference by Hermann Ducker, Our Organization by Hugo Eberlein, Our Program by Rosa Luxemburg, The Crisis of the USPD by Karl Liebknecht, The National Assembly by Paul Levy, and the grandmother of communism, which is not here, I can't remember her name, but she was also part of the program as well, trust me. Under the leadership of our glorious Liebknecht and Rosa Luxemburg, the KPD was committed to the revolution in Germany, and during 1919 to 1920, with the Bavarian Socialist Republic, the Berlin Uprising, the Spartacus Uprising, and attempts to seize control of the government continued. Germany's social democratic government that was headed by Ebert, which had come to power after the fall of the monarchy and the Treaty of Versailles, making them a democratic republic, vowed to vehemently oppose the KPD's ideas of socialism, preferring a more liberal idea of socialism by Ebert, and not radical leftist socialism in Russia. With the new regime terrified of the Bolshevik Revolution within Germany, Defense Minister Gustav Noske formed a series of anti-communist paramilitary groups, which were dubbed the Freikorps, which have historical meaning behind them but not now, out of demobilized World War I veterans, or even people who have not seen the war firsthand, like being 18 in 1918 but were never sent to the front in time, so those as well. During the first Spartacus uprisings in Berlin in January 1919, Liebknecht and Luxemburg, who had not initiated the uprisings but during once it had begun, were captured by Freikorps and were murdered or executed on the spot. The party split a few months later into 2 factions, and there were the liberal, more conservative kind of KPDs on the Luxemburg and on the Liebknecht, and the Communist Workers' Party of Germany, or the KAPD, or the more Stalinist, Marxist, Maoist kind of super supreme communist guys, which would be Honecker's and Walter Ulbricht's GDR. Following the assassination of Leo Jingles, Paul Levy became the KPD's leader. Other prominent members included Karl Zetkin, Paul Fröhlich, Hugo Eberleiner, Franz Möhring, August Thalheimer, and Ernst Mayr. Levy led the party away from the policies of immediate revolution, and in an effort to win over the SPD and the USPD voters and trade union officials. These efforts were rewarded with the substantial section of the USPD, which was joined into the KPD, making a mass party for the first time in the disorganized German Reichstag. So through the 1920s, the KPD was wrapped by internal conflict between more or less radical factions, partly reflecting the power struggle between Zaizhanev and Stalin in Moscow. Germany was seen as being of central importance to the struggle for socialism, and the failure of German Revolution was a major setback. Eventually, Levy was expelled in 1921 by the Comintern for indiscipline. Further leadership changes took place in the 1920s, swapping between leftist to rightist, but it was all communist, but radical to more liberal and let the people decide if they want communism kind of people. Supporters of the left or right opposition to the Stalin-controlled Comintern as well, and his leadership of Comintern were also expelled. Of these were Heinrich Brandler, August Thalheimer, and Paul Hulich, who set up splinter Communist Party opposition. So that is already 4 splinter communist groups within Germany, including the largest KPD faction, which merged with the USPD. So these gentlemen set up a splinter Communist Party opposition to the largest party in Germany, which was the KPD, which joined with the USPD to make other splinter communist groups which would try and vie for power in the Reichstag, splitting the largest communist group in Germany and kind of leaving the vacuum open for the Nazis, who are all one party. But so a new KPD leadership that was more favorable to the Soviet Union was elected in 1923. This leadership was headed by Ernst Thälmann, and he abandoned the goals of the immediate revolution, and from 1924 onwards until 1933 contested the Reichstag elections with some success. During the years of the Weimar Republic, the KPD was the largest communist party within Europe and was seen as the leading party of the communist movement outside of the Soviet Union. It maintained a solid electoral performance, usually polling more than 10% of the vote and gaining 100 deputies in November 1932 and those elections. In the presidential elections of the same year, Thälmann took home 13.2% of the votes compared to Adolf Hitler's 30.1%. So under Thälmann's leadership, the party was closely aligned with the Soviet leadership in Moscow and was headed by Joseph Stalin. And from 1928, the party was largely controlled and funded by the Comintern in Moscow. So throughout the Weimar Republic era, the KPD viewed the Social Democratic Party of Germany, or the SPD, that was first headed by Ebert in the fall of the German Empire in 1918, as its main adversary and even potential rival. And the KPD referred to the SPD as the social fascist of Germany. The KPD regarded itself as the only anti-fascist party in Germany, and headed all other parties of the Weimar Republic were fascists. Nonetheless, it funnily cooperated with the Nazis in the early 1930s in attacking the Social Democrats, and both sought to destroy the liberal democracy of the Weimar Republic. The only anti-fascist republic in Germany, Nevertheless, it cooperated with the Nazis in the early 1930s in attacking the Social Democrats, and both sought to destroy the liberal democracy of the Weimar Republic. So in the early 1930s, the KPD sought to appeal to the Nazi voters with nationalist slogans, and in 1931 the KPD was united with the Nazis, whom they refer to as the Working People's Comrades, because remember, Nazi means Nationalist Socialist Arbeiterpartei, or National Socialist Workers' Party of Deutschland, and in an unsuccessful attempt to bring down the Social Democrat state government of Prussia by means of a plebiscite. While also opposed to the real fascists, the Nazis, the KPD regarded the Nazi Party as a lesser evil, less sophisticated, and thus less dangerous fascist party than the SPD, or the Social Democrats, and the KPD leader, Ernst Thälmann, declared that some Nazi trees must not be allowed to overshadow a forest of Social Democrats. So critics of the KPD accuse it of having pursued a sectarian policy. For example, the Social Democratic Party criticized the KPD's thesis on social fascism, which addresses the SPDs as the communist main enemy. So this scuttles any possibility for a united front with the SPD against the rising power of the Nationalist Socialists, or the Nazis. So these allegations were refuted by reporters and supporters of the KPD, as it was said by whom? The right-wing leadership of the SPD rejected the proposals of the KPD to unite against the rising tides of fascism and to defeat the Nazi Party. So the right-wing leadership of the SPD rejected the proposals of the KPD to unite for the defeat of fascism. The SPD leadership were then accused of having countered KPD efforts to form a united front of the working class. So for instance, after Papin's government carried out a coup d'etat in Prussia, the KPD called for a general strike and turned to the SPD leadership for joint struggle, but the SPD leaders again refused to cooperate with the KPD, and so led to the gap that the Nazis won power, and of course the purges of 1933 to 1937, and of course their eventual rise and domination for obvious reasons in East Germany. But those are stories for another day, and the Nazi period is kind of short because there's only one party in Germany from 1933 to 1945, and that is the Nazi Party. So I could go into the Nazi Party, but where's the fun in that, And plus I can't spoil you all that good. Plus we have to talk about Nazis. And we already talked about how the KPD were with Nazis. Oh my goodness, that was a great story, dude. But hopefully you learned something. And anti-fascists only work with fascists when it helps the struggle of the working class before you're all sent to concentration camps and liberals realm does not apply to you. But anyway, long lives the glorious revolution. And today starts the week and a half of communist rule in this channel. So hope you enjoyed, hope you learned something. Tomorrow might be Karl Liebknecht, not too sure. Teeth is feeling good though, but must get it pulled out soon. And of course, if you like the new voice, if you like what I'm doing, a less British accent, more proper words, please sound out in the comments. And of course, I'm going to link you to 2 videos that I've done on German's communist states, I think. Like, for sure the Bavarian Socialist Republic, but I've done something else for the Reds. I could link you to all my communist videos too, that's no problem. But anyway guys, people of the working class will unite, and long live the glorious communist struggle. GG, don't die, don't starve, learn. Also, side note, I know I did kind of peter out at the end. My voice is killing me. I haven't done recording since last video was posted when actually. Not gonna make this, well, this video is for sure over 10 minutes, or this might make it. But I don't have any ads anyway, so even if I'm like 20 minutes off, it's like whatever. But anyway, seriously, last video was 2 days ago, so now getting back into the mojo. But also using a different voice, so it's gonna be a struggle, but it's pretty good so far. I can pronounce and articulate properly, even though I could not say reprimand. What it was again? Shit. It was, let me see, vehemently. I couldn't say vehemently. Shit, still can't say it. Vehemently oppose. I don't know, there's some good takes and some bad takes, so we'll see what's happening. But kind of petered out at the end, but still a good video though. I mean, damn good. Microphone is closer. I'm not shouting either, so rest your ears, children. We're good. I think we found the perfect match. But anyway, hope you enjoyed, hope you learned something, and I guess remember to store your grain, or the Stasi will come and try to all down the drain. The end. Learn something.